Hey guys, it's Erin. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make DIY sprinkles using clay. So the materials you need for this are a clay extruder. This is the most important part. You can find this anywhere online. You need some polymer clay and also your choice of tip that comes with the clay extruder. These will basically determine the shape of the sprinkle that you make. So I chose this semi-large circle tip, and what you want to do first is take off the metal screw top thing off the clay extruder. Then you're going to put the tip in that. Make sure it's in there well, and then you're just going to screw it right back onto the clay extruder. Next, you're going to get your choice of polymer clay. I decided to go with orange and white so I can do a marble effect that will make it look like a creamsicle kind of theme, and that idea was given to me by Fruit Loops Slimery on Instagram, so shout out to her. So to make the marble effect, I just like to cut up the clay into smaller pieces, and then I will put them together and start to swirl them around a bit. Once I'm done marbling, then it's time to put the clay into the clay extruder. And for this you're going to have to take smaller pieces and then roll them out so that they'll fit into the clay extruder. Once you put the clay in, you're then going to push the top part of the clay extruder so that the clay comes out. And this can be a little bit hard since the clay is kind of tough, so make sure you're just pushing hard on it and that all of it comes out. Once you're done, you can take your X-Acto knife and cut off the clay as close to the tip as possible. Now this is where I kind of messed up. What I did is I put the clay into the oven and then I baked it and then I cut it into pieces. But what I would recommend is actually cutting it into pieces first, because if you bake it, it starts to get a little bit crumbly, even if you only do it for a minute or two. So I just recommend that you cut the pieces up and then bake it in the oven for about 5 minutes at 350 degrees. It really doesn't matter how much temperature it is or how long you bake it, just make sure you don't do it for too long because then it may burn. So here's the clay after I baked it. Now like I said, I recommend that you guys cut it before you bake it, because this is what it looks like when you do cut it after you bake it. As you can see, there's little pieces that fall off, and in the end all the pieces sort of kind of like crumble after you cut it, so I just recommend cutting it before you bake it. This is what mine turned out to look like. Even though the pieces did chip a little bit, you can still use it in your slime. Now I'm going to show you how to make these realistic looking sprinkles. So I decided to go with a goldish caramel colored clay, and again I just cut those into small pieces. And you don't have to cut them into small pieces. You can also do the same thing as before and just roll the clay and then put it into the clay extruder, but either way works the same. Then once you're done, you're just going to put the clay into the clay extruder once again. And make sure that if you did make a different colored sprinkle before this, make sure you clean it out really well, because you don't want it to have multiple colors when you're doing it for a second time. For this type of sprinkle, you need a tip that looks like this, Mine had a bunch of small little holes. Make sure you're using the right one because you can't change it once you start pushing it out. And once again, once you put the clay in, you can start pushing it out from the top again. This one was really hard for some reason, so it kind of took a while to push out, but eventually it did come out. After all the clay came out, I separated the pieces into long strands, and then I put them on a baking tray. But this time I didn't bake them before I cut them. Once I was done putting them all on the sheet, I cut them into small pieces the size that I wanted them to be, as you can see in this clip. So you're just going to cut them all up into the size that you want, and once you're done cutting all of the pieces, you can bake them in the oven for the same amount of time, just 5 minutes at 350 degrees or less, whatever you want, as long as you don't burn them. So this is what mine looks like. They came out much better than the last sprinkles did, so I definitely recommend doing it this way. They look super realistic and great for your slime, and you don't have to go out and buy sprinkles for super expensive. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you also try out this method, make sure to tag me on Instagram. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!